Hi, this is Professor McLaughlin with a quick lecture on Unit 1 for Dearborn's Real Estate Law. If you've taken a look at my Intro to Law lecture, then some of this will be a quick repeat, and take a look at that, and I'm going to go fast through the first couple of slides till we get to something that's not repetitive. So Anglo-American law, or the U.S. legal system, definitely is influenced and follows English law. So that is to distinguish English law from some other civil law countries or legal systems that have Roman influence and Spanish influence. So civil law countries such as Spain and Germany, France, other countries who were settled by European, like the Portuguese, the Dutch, the German. Those explorers brought their own legal systems with them, and typically the colonies, as they sought independence, maintained those legal systems. So our legal system is based on England, and it's a common law system. We have lots of different laws, but two main sources of law are the Constitution at the federal and state level and statutes at the federal and state level. And then we have our Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments, but we have many, many more amendments to the U.S. Constitution that guide us on an individual level, but also from a business standpoint. And the California state constitution guides us along with California statutes that govern the business and promulgate the Business and Professions Code, and that definitely governs real estate professionals. But we also have administrative agencies like the Department of Real Estate, which will create regs and other regulations and other rules that must be complied with from a professional standpoint. So the court structure is interesting and needs to be understood, because when you are reading cases and when we look at cases, we want to know where they came from. Is it a federal case? Is it a state case? Which state case is it? And if it's a state of Nevada case, do we as California professionals or individuals need to care about that, what a Nevada court state says? So let's get an idea of the distinctions between the federal and state courts, because how a federal court decides and how those opinions guide us is different than how state courts guide us. So federal courts are kind of like a triangle. And if you can imagine, just the top of the triangle, the apex is the U.S. Supreme Court. There's only one. But as we get down the fatter part of the triangle, the wider part of the triangle, I want you to see that it's wider because there are many more courts. So there are many more federal courts of appeals, and at the bottom of the triangle there's lots of little federal courts. I call them little, but they're not little. You have the U.S. Tax Court, all the district courts, courts of international trade, various other courts. But I want you to imagine the triangle so that you also understand it at the state level. It's going to run the same way, where you have one state Supreme Court in each state, and then you have more courts of appeals, and at the very bottom of the triangle are the trial courts. So this graphic is to show you how the federal district courts are divided. And I want you to know that we are in California, so we are part of the 9th Federal Circuit. But you may have read cases that are from another circuit. And all I want to have you absorb from this graphic is that circuits include multiple states. So when the federal Ninth Circuit makes a decision, it impacts every state in that circuit. And the Ninth Circuit is the largest circuit. And I just want to point out at the bottom of the graphic, it also includes Alaska, the Mariana Islands, Guam, and Hawaii. But you see to the east of the United States, those circuits are a lot smaller. Some are very small. They only have 3 states. Others get larger as we go west, and that is for historical reasons. So thinking about California in terms of the federal courts, not that this level of detail is necessarily required, but I think it's, people move from Southern California to Northern California. It's good to understand from a federal perspective how California structures its federal courts. And at the top, you see the gray is the Northern District of California. It also includes San Francisco, where the Ninth Circuit sits. The Eastern District is that teal green color. The Central District, Los Angeles, Orange County, Riverside County, everything until you hit Nevada. And then San Diego is a Southern District of California. And I just want to pause here for a moment to ask you to ponder, does this division make sense? I mean, why is the Eastern District the Eastern District? Does it make sense? And for here, I want you to think about what these various divisions, we have 4 divisions, what do they share? What do they share in terms of terrain, geography, weather? What is distinct between the Central District and the Northern District, and what is different between the Northern District and the Southern District? And these distinctions become important because as the court makes decisions, and if you're reading decisions regarding coastal property or inland property or mountainous property or property that is in jeopardy of during fire season or for mudslides. So sometimes these divisions appear arbitrary, but the entire Northern District shares the coast, and a section of the coast that they can get to easily, the Central District, the same thing in Southern District. So just thinking about positioning of courts and why that makes sense. So the California courts are set up very similarly to the federal courts. You have, if you could overlay a triangle, if I weren't lazy, I would I would edit this video and draw a triangle over here. But the top of the triangle is very small. You have 1 California Supreme Court, and then you have wider at the bottom because you have more family courts, more small claims courts, more criminal courts. It's structured very similarly to the federal courts, and this is all laid out in each constitution. So the state structure of the state court system is laid out in the California Constitution, and the structure of the federal court system in the U.S. Constitution. So when you do get a conflict and it goes to court, you're going to ask for a couple of things, and mostly you're going to ask for monetary remedies, which we call damages, and that's money to compensate you for the harm that you sustained as a plaintiff. That's compensatory damages. Exemplary damages are over and above. Nominal damages are small, but sometimes the court wants to make a point, so they make a party pay $1 to make a point that we're making a point, even though it's not costing you a lot of money. But you can also ask for equitable remedies. These are things that have to do with fairness, that have to do with stopping people. So temporary restraining orders fall under equitable remedies. I want you to stop the foreclosure. I want you to stop whatever you're doing, and the court can issue an injunction granting that stoppage. Or I want you to do something that you said you were going to do, and that's called specific performance. It can also be an injunction. I want you to comply under this contract and perform under this contract. I want you to do something, and that's also an equitable remedy. And then finally, we have all kinds of ways to resolve disputes in the United States. Litigation is one of them, but there are alternatives, and we call those processes arbitration, mediation, and sometimes negotiation is the beginning step. You think a dispute is coming and you call up the other side and say, hey, I think you're in violation of this contract. Could we talk about that? Because I'm very close to filing a lawsuit. And so you could say, and maybe an example that most people relate to, with a fender bender, you get out of the car, something has happened, you're headed toward a lawsuit, and you get out of the car and you say, hey, should we make this part of should we claim this on insurance? Should we not claim this on insurance? And that's your negotiation. The analogy stops there because typically insurance gets involved and either solves it or doesn't. But these are alternatives to litigation, and they are arbitration is created through a contract. Mediation is consensual between parties, and for business, and real estate is a big business, this is a great way to avoid the costs of litigation. And that is it, and I will see you online.